We're heading into conference championship weekend, and we're down to four. Who is going to place their stake in the Super Bowl? Super Bowl 59 is around the corner, but we got to get through this weekend first. Let's talk about it. Before we get into our actual game predictions, I want to throw some stats out there for you guys to remember, because we know experience matters here in the biggest moments, and that I would say this weekend classifies as some of the biggest moments. But when we look at the four head coaches remaining, there's a big gap here between playoff success. Andy Reid, of course, with the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, 27 total playoff victories, which if you add up the other three coaches' total playoff career wins, it's only 16. So he still has 11 more wins, than the other three coaches combined. Now he's the only the only coach left with a Super Bowl success. He has 3 Super Bowl wins. He's been there 5 times, of course, once more with the Chiefs and once with the Eagles back in 2004. Now, Sean McDermott has never been to the Super Bowl, so that's something to look out for. Dan Quinn and Sirianni have, but of course, Dan Quinn 28-3 when all that ended in 2016. Sirianni met the Chiefs just a few years back, and we know how that ended as well. But just keep these in mind again. Head coaching advantages, I think, do matter in these playoff games. Now, for the quarterbacks, it's a lot of the same. Mahomes, 16. The next closest quarterback, Josh Allen, has 7. Huge gap there alone. Mahomes, the only quarterback with Super Bowl wins here. The other ones, there's only one total appearance. Granted, Jaden Daniels is a rookie, so let's cut him some slack. But again, 16 wins for Mahomes, 13 combined between the next 3. Now, as far as the success versus other playoff teams and just great teams here, of course, best against the best, we like to look at these numbers, Amir and I do, throughout this entire season. But versus all the teams that were in this year's 2024 playoffs, the Chiefs had the best record. They were 8-2. Of course, they should have been 9-1 if they played their guys in Week 18. But they lost to the Bills, which of course is their matchup this weekend. Something to keep in mind. Now, the Eagles, of course, at 7-2, they're very battle tested. But the Bills and the Commanders, despite being one of the Final Four teams, they're about a 500 record here as far as the record versus every team that was in the playoffs this year. But again, both teams have gotten hot at the right times. Now, I throw those stats out there just because, I guess, again, they're things to keep in the back of your mind as far as how battle-tested these teams are, how well they've done against other great teams this year and in years prior. But let's get into the first matchup here, Amir. Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, NFC East rubber match. The Commanders go to Philadelphia as 5.5-point underdogs. Amir, they've won 7 straight games. At one point, they were 7-5, and we said, well, they might be able to make the playoffs. And if they do, they'll be a first-round exit. We've continued to doubt them week after week, and they've rattled off 7 straight games. I will say, we'll talk about it in a moment, but they've been on fire as far as their offensive side of the ball. Philadelphia's at home here, and they're 9-1 at home this season with arguably the best defense left in the playoffs. Arguably, Amir, the most talented roster in the playoffs. Amir, your initial thoughts about this NFC East rubber match as either team is looking to make some history?
Man, this Philly team is loaded. And it's crazy because this was my favorite out the NFC before the playoffs, and it's now like the opportunity for a Super Bowl is screaming wide open for them. And this Commanders team has been on fire. They kind of got blessed with a injury riddled Detroit team last week.
Yes.
But this Philly team on both sides of the ball is loaded. The defense is a crazy part. And people keep talking about Saquon, the O-line, the run game. The defense for me is what stands out. Like they create turnovers. Like last week, they had Stafford to hell. I mean, I want to say they forced 2 strip fumbles. And they really made it really tough on Stafford in that backfield. Jaden Daniels has been great. Throwing against man-to-man coverage. One blitz, but this week is going to be really, really challenging for him. Yeah. At Philly on the road.
Yeah, again, I mean, Cinderella run, I think, would be an understatement with how great that he has been and this team has been in these big-time games. But again, 34 points per game the first 2 weeks. That, of course, is the best mark out of the 4 teams left remaining as far as this playoff run. Now, keep in mind, the Chiefs have played 1 less game than the other 3 teams remaining. But still, the Commanders, 34 points a game on the road versus Tampa. Their offense showed up on the road against the number one seed in a tough environment at Ford Field. The Detroit Lions, a lot of people thought Detroit can make their first Super Bowl appearance. No, Jaden Daniels said, this is my time. Even as a rookie, and they, of course, hung like 40 plus points on the number one team in the NFC. But they also have the worst defense, giving up just about 26 points a game out of these first 2 weeks, which is by far and away the worst by about 10 points because the Chiefs have the best defense, granted only one game played. And then the Bills and the Eagles are just about 16 points a game. The Commanders are about 10 points worse. So their defense, we know, is a question. Their offense is going to have to show up if they're going to want to continue to win. But they have a rookie quarterback. It hasn't mattered so far. They're 2-0 so far in this playoff run, and they've won 7 straight games. Now, for the home team here, Amir, this is going to be something fun for you as far as the betting aspect, but they're at home with the playoff experience, right? They're guys that have been there. They've done that. They've made this run before, and they're one game away from doing it yet again as far as coming out of the NFC side of things. But this is something that I wanted to look at because when I went back and I looked and I said, okay, the Commanders split the season series, but the Eagles were up by 2 or almost 3 scores.
Yeah, almost
before,
3.
Before Jalen Hurts went down, and then the Commanders stormed back in that one there late in the season. But they haven't lost a game since week 4 when everybody was healthy for the entire game.
This team is dominant.
Like that's 16 straight weeks of just dominance, which is on par with the Chiefs, of course. But Saquon is entering this game, Amir, with the highest rushing yards total in betting history at 130.5 in a playoff game, mind you. Your thoughts on this Eagles team at home and your quick thoughts about that Saquon mark.
Hey, look, Saquon might be the only player I've ever seen where I will actually feel comfortable for hitting the over on this one. This Commanders defense is so bad. Absolutely horrible. I mean, Saquon single-handedly almost beat them in that second match towards the end of the year, and it's really crazy because watching that game in that first half, that game was getting out of hand quick. Like Philly was on pace to blow them out by like 30. But then once Jalen Hurts got down, Kenny Pickett came in, turned the ball over, and honestly, it ended up getting tough from there. But this matchup is literally perfect for Saquon, and this is probably one of those matchups where like. He has about 100 yards, through about 4.5 or about 4.5 quarters. And it kind of comes down to that last drive. You burst like a freaking 90-yard touchdown run, something crazy like that. So this is a perfect game where honestly, you could probably bet the over.
Yeah, I mean, again, we'll talk about the over later on. It is at 47.5. But Amir, where are you placing your stake in this game? Your thoughts? Who's going to win this rubber match? Are we going to continue to drink the juice of Jaden Daniels? Or are we going to continue to doubt him? Where are you sitting at here in this NFC title game to go on, of course, to potentially win a Super Bowl?
That juice and all that hype ends now. Jaden Daniels, might play great. He might throw for 250, might put up, 25 points, but this Philly team is way too loaded, way too dominant. They were my pick, could come out the NFC to begin with. And it's like, now this opportunity is honestly perfectly in their favor.
The only way that I could see the Commanders just coming into this game and winning it is because we know that, hey, they're divisional rivals. Divisional teams are built to beat the teams in their division. And again, they've played them. This is now their 3rd time. So they haven't looked great, but they know what it takes to beat the Eagles. And Jaden Daniels, again, we've doubted him 2 weeks in a row. Can he do it yet again? And the only other thing, too, is Jalen Hurts is still banged up, right? He's still banged up from that concussion. And, of course, he got tackled pretty ugly late in that game last week. So I think all those things kind of go in the favor if you want to lay the points and stick with the Commanders here on the road. But I think, again, it's too much. And I think the Eagles in playoff games, they're going to be able to control the clock, whether if it's nice outside, if it's snowy outside, they're going to be able to control the game up front and win this one, I think that honestly they probably cover. I think it's maybe like a 26-20 kind of a game. We'll talk about that later on, though. But here we go. The game of the year. I think we can confidently say that. And it's a rivalry as old as time. As much as I love Joe Burrow, this is the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady rivalry of this era. You have Josh Allen as a 1.5 dog coming in on the road, and they look unstoppable to go to Arrowhead, a team that they've beaten this season, Amir. But this is what I want to throw out there. These stats I throw on there for good reasons. And although they have the second best offense this postseason out of the four teams remaining, they've also lost all four of their games on the road. And of course, we talked about it earlier. Again, all four of those games on the road that they lost were against good teams. So, of course, this is an undefeated Chiefs team at home, 9-0, 16-2 on the season with a great defense and number 15 and Black Magic. That Josh Allen is never going to have to show up, Amir. But if you want to go with the Bills here, these are some notes that you want to keep in mind. Josh Allen's 4-1 in his career against Patrick Mahomes in the regular season. 4-4 in his career because three of those losses have come in the postseason, right? In those bigger games. But I think this, whether if he wins the MVP or not, Amir, whether if it's Lamar, Josh Allen, I think this is the best version of Josh Allen we've ever seen. I think this is the best version of the Josh Allen Bills we've ever seen, despite losing talented players like Stephon Diggs. Now, the defense, of course, has seen better days over this Josh Allen tenure, but I think Josh Allen alone, this is the best version, at the bare minimum, of Josh Allen we've ever seen. So, again, you have arguably the best two players in the league heading into this game this weekend. Now, I will say again, all four losses have come on the road. That doesn't go in their favor. The question here for me, Amir, for the Bills, can their defense do
That's the
enough?
biggest thing.
Now, for the Chiefs at home here, Amir, on the other side, they're chasing history. We've talked about it. It's a story
Yep.
as old as time this season. They're chasing a three-peat. Nobody's ever done that. And if Mahomes wants to compete with Brady down the line, he's never going to have another chance at a three-peat. So he's going to have to do it here. Now he's undefeated at home. They're 9-0 this year, and if you go back to last year, including the playoff run, they have won 11 straight games in Arrowhead. Mahomes is 3-0 in his postseason career against Josh Allen, but I will say they've had the second worst offense out of the four teams left remaining. To me, Amir, again, they also have the playoff success advantage on their side. When we talk about this game, I'm rolling with the Chiefs for this reason. For one, you don't bet. I'm not going to bet against
Oh,
Mahomes until he proves me wrong. Until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to stick with Mahomes here at home. And honestly, I think with all the talent that they do have, I don't think that we've seen nearly the best version of this offense. I mean,
mhm.
Pacheco is still in the mix here. He's still a top, above average running back here in the league, arguably like top 15, and he hasn't hit his stride yet, right? And that adds another element to this offense. They have so many talented pieces on this offense. I don't think Mahomes has looked his best this year, but I'm rolling with the Chiefs until I'm proven wrong here. I'm here at home. I think history is going to be in the hands of the Chiefs in 2 weeks' time.
You know, I really sat and thought about this game, um, because the one thing that I hate doing is letting my bias get in the way. I hate holding guys to a standard that's completely just like out of this world. Like if you would have told me before the season that Josh Allen was going to be in the AFC Championship with this roster, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and
mean,
for me, um, I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills on the road, and
wow.
and it's more so out of a feeling I got. I have a feeling that somehow they're going to do it. I don't know why, but watching last week, this is a team that truly believes, and kind of watching Kansas City last week. Case is one of those teams where it's like they could be in the dogfight with the freaking Jaguars the week before, and then the next week play against the Bills or Ravens and then win.
Yeah.
So I kind of take their week to week performance kind of with a grain of salt, but Buffalo on the other hand, Buffalo defensively looked great last week against Baltimore for the most part, and the offense is just playing perfect and not turning the ball over, and I think this is the perfect chance for Buffalo to finally get it done.
Yeah. I
I
will
just
say
have a
this.
feeling.
If you're betting on this game, I'll take the money line straight up. But to go back to your point, if Josh Allen were to win this game, he'd be only the third quarterback in NFL history to beat Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. Of course, we know that's a short list between the best two quarterbacks of all time, Tom Brady and Joe Burrow, right? I'm going to stick with my guy Burrow in that argument. But Amir, I see what you're seeing, right? I see that the
Yeah,
Bills can get this done, and it's going to be a heck of a game. Honestly, the key to me, Amir, in this game is the first quarter.
it has to
Who
be the
comes out
first
hot?
quarter. That's huge.
I don't think either team can survive maybe a two-score deficit. I think if the Bills go down and score, the Chiefs don't score, and the Bills go up, like let's say the Bills go up 10-0. I think the Bills win the game, right? And vice
Yeah.
versa. I think the first quarter is so important. And honestly, both offenses have been great on their first drives as far as getting touchdowns this season. Again, I think that
Yeah.
first quarter is so important. I think whoever wins it will win the game ultimately. But honestly, again, Mahomes and the Chiefs, it's hard to I guess,
I would
bet
say
against.
too. I would say too, man. This game is fully on Joe Brady, and watching last game too. Joe Brady, most through that third quarter, he got way too conservative. Like if you're up 2 scores on Baltimore, bury him. Keep pushing the ball on the field.
Yes.
Keep trying to really dominate that game and put the game out of reach. And last game against Baltimore, it was one drive down the stretch where it's like they called 3 straight screens. And
Yes. Yeah,
you
I know
know,
what you're
and
talking about. It was in the third
right, yeah,
quarter.
and this week is like if you go up, 2 possessions on this KC team, keep on trying to put this game away. Just trust Josh Allen and not turn the ball over. I
Yeah.
mean, shoot, I want to say, in his career playoff games, he has like 27 touchdowns and only 6 turnovers. So it's like, he has a great track record of being smart with the football. So trust your guys to really make plays.
Yeah. I mean, I think Josh Allen and them have learned before you can't give Mahomes any kind of time here, especially late in games. So keep the pressure on, right? Make sure you're not in a position where they have the ball with 13 seconds to go. Just continue to be up, 2 scores, 2 scores, 2 scores. And when it comes down to it, if it's a game-winning drive, you want to trust maybe the second best player on the planet in Josh Allen, right? And again, I think that's ultimately the that's going to be the reason why you have an argument in every game. That's going to be the reason why you have a chance in every game. It's because you have that elite quarterback that makes everyone around him better. But those are going to be our picks. We'll recap here in a second. I do want to show this screen because Amir, you have passed me in our playoff records this year. Now it's either going to get even or get even worse for myself with this Chiefs and Buffalo Bills game. As again, you would get a 2-game lead, and then you would ultimately win this year's playoff predictions. But on the year, it just hasn't been pretty for us in the playoffs this year. You had a great week last week, but on the year, 282 for me. I got that 200 win mark, which is something I've been wanting here on this channel since it started. Amir, you're not too far behind. You need 2 wins this weekend, and you need to predict the Super Bowl correct to get that 200 win mark. And I'm hoping you can do it
That
ultimately
would be
because,
crazy.
I mean, it would be a crazy end to the season. But if you can get all 3 games right, you're going to be right with me here at that 200 win thresh mark. Now, these are quick recap picks. If we make any changes, we'll let you know in the comments as we've done all season long. Now, heading into conference championship weekend, as we've done every single week, this is the end of it. This is the last time we're going to do power rankings before the upcoming week. So let's get into it here. Amir and I rank these teams based on how likely we think they are to win this weekend, and of course, 2 weeks down the line, of course, to raise the Lombardi Trophy. We have Washington at 4. Not only would they have to continue the Cinderella run on the road versus Philadelphia, they'd also have to go and beat the Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs, which we don't see happening, at least the first step, let alone both of them. So Washington is here at 4. Their 7-game Cinderella win streak comes to an end, but great season going forward for Washington. At 3 is Buffalo. Of course, we talked about it. They got a shot this weekend, and if they can, honestly, Amir, I think the winner comes out of the AFC, right? And that might be a shock here because of how talented the Philadelphia Eagles are. But Buffalo has as good of a shot as any here left in the Final Four. Philadelphia at 4, the most talented roster left top to bottom, but can they get enough out of Jalen Hurts in this passing game to push them over the top? That's something we got to look out for, but Saquon is a man on a mission. And at number 1, Kansas City, right? They're going for history. They're going for the three-peat, going for something that no team has ever done. Amir, your thoughts on our final power rankings of the season, what a season it's been.
Yeah, honestly, overall, I think these power rankings are pretty self-explanatory. And the biggest reason why I feel Philly at 2, I know a lot of people might put Buffalo at 2, but this Philly team really is a bad matchup for really anybody on this list.
Yes.
To be honest, on both sides of the ball. The reason why KC is one because it's Kansas City. No matter the talent matchup, no matter what it is, they're always going to be the favorite to win in the playoffs. So
Again, until proven otherwise, Kansas City sits atop. Our best bets section here on the week. Every single week, we give you our favorite player props, a spread pick, and over under for that upcoming week. Last week, both of us, we went 2-1 on our picks. We both missed on that Washington and Detroit over under. We took the under 56.5, and of course, that was over in the first half. Anyway, our favorite player props on the week. I'm going to go to the most, I guess, exciting matchup this weekend between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. And I'm going to go with the guy that's covered this line in 7 out of his 8 career games against Josh Allen and company. Patrick Mahomes, over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Earlier this season, he had 3. We just need him to get 2. Of course, in a must-win game where they might be forced to throw more than they have the recent couple or the last couple of weeks. So Mahomes, over 1.5 passing touchdowns. He's done it again in almost every game against Josh Allen. I'd like him to do it here yet again. Amir, what is your player prop here? Again, it looks like it has a pretty good success rate.
Yep. So for my player prop, I'm going Jay Daniels over 221 passing yards. And this is a game where Jay Daniels is going to be forced to throw the ball. And, we watched last week against Detroit. He threw for 300, I believe, against Tampa Bay. He's thrown for 270. And honestly, that says the last 4 out of 5 games. But really, it's the last 5 out of 5 because one of those games, he ended up not even playing.
Right.
On the season, there was 2 games, specifically that he ended up basically not playing for 3 quarters. And so really on the season, he's covered this line, 14 out of 19 games. And, everything is really pointing towards Philly to kind of slow this offense down. But, I think at this point in the playoffs, I'm watching Philly sort of be susceptible to the pass a little bit, against the Reds. I think Jay Daniels has a great matchup here.
Yeah,
Kind of air the ball out a little
now,
bit.
I think you also, we talked about it before the show, but you wanted to add on a Travis Kelce
Yeah.
line here. Do you have that pulled up?
Yeah. Yeah. So Travis Kelce's line is at 67.5. And I was looking at it last night. Man, he's covered that line in 14 straight playoff games.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely crazy. So if you're betting on that, I want to say the all line at 60 plus is around like minus 210. So even with that, great pick.
Well, we talked about this also earlier in the show, but Saquon Barkley's rushing line, it's at 130.5. Amir, as crazy as it sounds, I might lean towards the under just because no one's really ever crossed that line in betting history when that mark was set that high. But where you lean on that? Where would you lean on
I'm
that?
be
Would you go
honest,
over 130.5?
it sounds crazy, but man, like Jahmyr Gibbs torched this run defense last week. This Commanders run defense is absolutely terrible. Despite them being great up front on the D line, this run defense is horrible. And so, me personally, I'm taking the over. I think Saquon runs the ball, 25 plus times. I think he might go ahead and rush for almost 200 this week.
Yeah, I might just stay away from that because I might be too scared to go either way. Regardless, those are some of the favorites player props on the week. Now, our favorite spread pick on the week. I'm going to go with Kansas City money line / Kansas City 1.5. I like Kansas City to win this game. They are chasing something that no team has ever accomplished, and that is a three-peat. Of course, we all know that story. But the Kansas City Chiefs, I think at home, we haven't seen the best version of this offense yet. They know the Bills. They know what they need to do to get this win, and I think they get it done. So I'm going to take the Chiefs at home. They've won 11 straight in Arrowhead. They get 12 here this weekend. Amir, where are you going here? Looks like you're on the opposite side of this.
So I'm on the opposite side. I'm going Bills money line, and and really a huge part of this, is based off feeling. But like the biggest reason why is because that Eagles Commanders game, the spread was at minus 6.5 at first.
Yeah.
And so me personally, the Commanders have found ways to kind of keep games within one score. And so me personally, I kind of feel more comfortable taking that risk of the Bills money line straight up.
Yeah. Again, if you think the Bills are going to win, just take it. It's plus money right now. And of course, anything you put down, you get double. So Buffalo on the road, if you think they can get it done, that's going to be a nice payday on Sunday. Now, the over-unders, we're both going with overs, but it's in different games. So for me, I'm going with Buffalo and Kansas City. How many times do we need to see this matchup and say, well, they might run the ball, it might be, a defensive focused game, and then they come out and it's just fireworks. I like over 47.5. I could see this game being a 28-24 kind of a game, covering this line comfortably. And again, I think the Chiefs get it done in the end. So if you want to parlay those two together, it should be nice plus money profit. Amir, you're going to the NFC East rubber match, however. You're also going over. Why is that?
Yeah, so I'm going over too, and the biggest reason why is because this Commanders defense is so bad to where Philly could really almost cover this line, really
at least get 30.
Right, at least 30, and for the Commanders offense too, I think at this point, it's really no fully stopping this offense. So this game could honestly be a shootout too.
Yeah, honestly, I was kind of leaning towards the under in that game, as crazy as it sounds, just because with Philly, how much they control the clock, if it's
Yeah.
snowing like it's projected to be there in Philly, it could be a lower scoring game. Maybe they try and control the clock, keep Jaden Daniels off the field. That just could be something to look out for because
Yeah.
outside of that defensive line, I don't see anybody really stopping this Philadelphia offense, at least getting to what they want to do. But that is it. Episode 246. We're down to the final four, and I can't believe it, but the NFL season is actually, the end of it is right around the corner. But of course, this is the most exciting time of the year. Despite being at the tail end of the season, this is where good becomes great, great becomes legendary. Of course, this is where moments are cemented in history in a mirror. How excited are you for this weekend? We're down to the final four, and I can't say I predicted really any of these teams to make it this point outside of the Chiefs and the Eagles.
Yeah, man. Like if you would have told me Buffalo would be in the AFC Championship and Josh Allen, I would laugh. And
Yeah,
so, that's the biggest reason why he's my MVP. It might be some bias in that too, but realistically, and this honestly might sound crazy, but for some reason, I enjoy like every playoff run before the Super Bowl more than the actual Super Bowl.
yeah.
Like the thing about the Super Bowl is like in that big game, tensions are kind of high, so usually it's kind of more low scoring, kind of more just it's like slower pace. Like these games, they should be shootouts. It should be just lights out games. So
Yeah,
enjoy
I
it.
mean, the pressure's at an all-time high, right? And a lot
Right.
of teams are chasing history in their own ways. So it's going to be a fun weekend, no matter what. But that's going to do it here for 246. Next week, 248, we're going to do a lot of fun stuff here on the show. Talk about the Lions' future with all their, all the craziness that's going on in Detroit. We're going to talk about Baltimore, some other teams, as well as the Pro Bowl that is coming up in a week's time. But until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and the Chiefs, go get Carson Wentz a ring.